Hey everyone, you're listening to Nerd Boys Comics. I'm Marco.
And I'm Andrea.
And today we're talking about The Incredibles 2. We're doing our kind of like after the hype spoiler talk.
After the hype?
Yeah, after the hype.
I'm still hyped.
I am too. We just saw the movie, so we're a little bit hyped still. Andrea, what did you think of The Incredibles 2?
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
You liked it a lot?
Yeah, there was a lot of funny jokes, and there were some very good characters in there.
Yeah. Do you think it was worth the wait?
It was.
It was worth the 14-year wait. Yeah, I think a lot of people are really excited about this movie coming back, or this franchise coming back.
The only thing I feel terrible for the voice actors.
Yeah, like for our showing, we had like this weird kind of like intro to it. Like the voice actors talking to the camera and being like, oh yeah, it's been a 14-year wait. Sorry about that, but these things take time. It was like Samuel Jackson. We see him all the time. But then it was like Holly Hunter and... Was it Holly Hunter? I don't know. It was the voice of Elastigirl and the voice of Mr. Incredible.
Mr. Incredible just sounds different now.
Yeah, it's been 14 years. He's gotten old.
It's nothing against him. Like, I understand it's been years, right? But I mean, like, I was just like, man, you sound different.
Between the track and field meet and the Underminer, that was like a big age gap for him.
Yeah.
He just aged 14 years.
Did they have to replace the voice actors for Violet and Dash?
I'm not entirely sure. They sound the same.
Yeah.
Because we saw the movie like yesterday, and then we watched it. There might be like a slight difference because I'm sure they're different actors, but they got like close enough voices to the kids.
Yeah.
I think Violet was...
I think the Violet actress could still be the same one, but I feel like Dash would definitely have to be somebody else.
Yeah. And I learned something watching the movie this time around. Dash's full name is Dashiell.
Dashiell?
Like Dashielle. So like...
Together?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
like
interesting.
Like Danielle or something, like Dashiell.
Oh, that's
So it's
funny.
Dash for short. That's his nickname.
Wow.
And his superhero name.
How did you figure that one out?
The credits.
Really?
Yeah, I was just reading everyone's name. I was like, oh, Jack, apparently he's just Jack. I don't know. But Dash's full name is Dashiell, which is interesting, to say the least. But, Andrea, do you want to talk about what happened in the movie?
Oh, they definitely replaced Dash. Sorry.
You looked it up on your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for the first one was Spencer Fox, and then the second one is Huck Milner.
Oh, well, it sounds close enough.
Yeah. They did a great choice in voice actors.
Yeah. But do you want to talk about the story and what happened?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah? Or should we just keep talking about our feelings and our opinions?
Like, I don't know. There's, like, so much I want to say about it before we hit into the story. But at the same time, it involves all of the things in the story.
Why don't we go along with the story and talk about how it felt as we go along?
All right. Should I start with how the story starts?
Sure.
Like, literally no time has passed?
Yeah, literally no time has passed.
Okay. So, right after we have the track meet and everything, right? They're all out celebrating congratulations for second place, right? And then we have Underminer, which is not a very clever name, in my opinion.
He's just a mole man.
It's a very terrible name, though. But he manages to cause a lot of damage. He ends up taking a whole bunch of streets down. Like, he planned this. Apparently, he's been planning this for quite a while. So he goes back underground and has, like, a whole bunch of holes built under the city and just explodes them and takes a whole row. It takes, like, what was it, a vault?
Yeah,
like a bank?
He takes down a whole city block and, like, goes to the bank and, like, just sucks up all the money into his little, like, mining device.
And at the same time, Mr. Incredible is trying to be Mr. Incredible. Is like, my image of me being incredible should terrify you. But as he's giving his speech of, I am Mr. Incredible, he gets sucked up right with the money.
There's a lot of moments in this where Mr. Incredible thinks he's a lot...
His image should represent everything.
Yeah, represent what the supers are all about. But then, yeah, he gets knocked down a few pegs throughout the movie.
I can't stand him.
Could you stand him later on in the movie?
I guess he still irritates me though.
Yeah.
Like, Helen is top. Like, she's a badass. She is a mom and a hero, okay?
Yeah, but so
Bob just...
Bob gets there.
Okay, he gets there, but he still has a lot of way to go.
Yeah, well, it's just, maybe like a few weeks? Maybe a week that this movie takes place.
A week?
Yeah, I'd say like about a few weeks, maybe. 2 weeks. I'll give you 2 weeks right there.
I want to say a month, but I'll go with 3 weeks.
Probably a month. Well, okay, we'll go for 3 weeks. Mr. Incredible, at the beginning of the movie, he's really into himself, and he's really happy that supers could be supers again, even though they can't. But, like, they go after the Underminer in their costumes illegally, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm back in the groove again, even though I'm, like, 40 years old. Like, I'm in my 40s, I'm a dad, but I still get to do that cool thing I did when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, but he's wrecking shit the whole time. Like, it was one mess up after another. And Elastigirl, like, literally had to be, like, fixing everything he was messing up.
Yeah, and she was stretching herself pretty thin. And it's funny because Bob was the whole reason supers were kind of like illegalized. Like they're just banned because of like the collateral damage he started.
No, what was started was the fact that he helped the person that was trying to commit suicide and broke his bones. So he basically took him to court, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I could have been better off, but I ended up broken because of him. And Mr. Incredible got really upset about that. Like, I understand, like, being upset over somebody is saving somebody, and they're taking you to court.
Yeah, but it was also the monorail people. Because they sued Mr. Incredible for, like, damages and, like, being injured when he saved them recklessly. Because he's always been pretty reckless.
He is a pretty reckless person.
Taking that tree out of the ground and, like, using it to stop the robbers and stuff. Saving that cat by shaking the tree. For
him, it's everything has to be convenient. Like, everything has to be simple. Like, it doesn't cost him.
Yeah.
That's his thing. He's like, as long as it doesn't come out of my pocket, I can do it.
But he's also a brute force kind of guy.
He's Batman.
I'm
sorry to make that reference there, but Batman can be that kind of person at times.
Yeah. Like, some different interpretations.
As long as I work with the law will never catch up to me.
Kind of. Well, a little bit, yeah. I can see where you're coming from. But then Elastigirl is much more, like, calculated, thinks... Because her powers are not, like, physical. Like, they're physical.
She's very flexible.
She's flexible, and she can think on her feet. Whereas Mr. Incredible, like, he just uses his powers for everything. Like, his strength for everything. Elastigirl, on the other hand, could be the kind of person who... uses her powers in a defensive and offensive kind of way. And she actually has many, many different uses throughout the movie. Like, she uses her body to, like, stretch and expand, and, like, her bike separates into 2 pieces so she can, like, slingshot her own bike.
Yeah. Oh my god. I can see why this movie took forever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, it was well thought out. Man, those 15 years, you guys did really good at figuring out what you wanted to do.
Yeah. I'm sure it was like a 10-year break of like not really talking about what they wanted to do. And then the past 5 years the past 4 or 5 years was like them just working on the movie.
Yeah. But like even the actors were like talking about it. They were like, it takes a long time to create a story before it even starts animating or anything. And I know there's a lot of movies that it takes a long time for them to get processed. Like the story in general. And then after the story gets processed then they still have to edit the story like on what scenes they're going to keep in.
Yeah. The story gets drafted, redrafted, and keeps working on it. And then you do the storyboarding, and then you do, like... Pixar does this crazy thing where they have, like, thousands and thousands of storyboards for scenes that you'll probably never see, because that's a draft of the movie that's not going to be made.
Which I am hoping to buy the DVD, because I want to know what they put behind.
Yeah, because for the first Incredibles, they have this beautiful, like, opening scene of Syndrome attacking the Parr family, and, like... That's when we discover Violet's powers of turning invisible and stuff. And that's a draft of the movie that we were never going to see because Syndrome is like a minor villain in that. And it's just different drafts of films kind of in Pixar anyway. They kind of go through stages of being dropped and kind of changed. Like The Good Dinosaur has, I think, a whole complete film version that we're never going to see. Where like they even had to change the voice cast because the young actor kind of like grew up.
Grew.
So
just kind of like Adventure Time?
Yeah, I think They changed the dad voice actor too, because like, no, the tone of the movie is going to be this now.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, Pixar has that thing of like reworking their movie until it works just right.
Okay, cool. I want to go back to like the story again because there was something that I wanted to say, like with all the chaos Incredible is doing and Elastigirl trying to fix, there's Violet and Dash are trying to like hand each other Jack. They're like, you're babysitting, no, you're babysitting. But throughout that time, they're helping out people. And I like how Violet has figured out her power. At one point, you can see her like, there's like basically...
There's debris falling down.
Yeah, debris is falling down on like these people. And the way she uses her forces like to collide so it would just destroy the rubble. It was pretty badass. I was like, wow, yeah. She figured it out.
And it shows that the kids really do care about saving people, not just like stopping the bad guys, but actually doing
They're not showing
footwork.
Flashy like Mr. Incredible.
Yeah, because he was worried more about the drill. They're kind of like their powers. Well, they're also younger, so they have to do check the perimeter, make sure everyone's safe, make sure Jack is safe because he has no powers that they know of yet.
Yeah. Which was funny how they kept tossing each other back and forth like Jack.
Yeah.
And then they ended up getting in the middle and helping like stop the drill because it was heading for a certain...
It was Town Hall.
The
mayor's office. Something
like Underminer was trying to put the drill like straight into the town hall. And Elastigirl figures out how to like destroy it and everything. Oh, that reminds me. Frozone is in there, too. He shows up and, like, is helping her, like, direct it or, like, stop it, slow it down and everything. And at this point, when Elastigirl is trying to, like, remove the boiler so it would stop, everybody is in there at that point. And this is Violet, of course, uses her force field so when it explodes, they're still safe and everything. But at that point, Frozone dashes somewhere else. Like, he's like, I'm not gonna deal with cops. Like, you guys have your own thing. I've had a perfect life. I've never had to change or relocate or change my name. Like, at least from like how he lives his life. It looks like he's had his own place forever.
It looks like that, yeah. It feels like he's had his own life established and he's lived in seclusion for like quite a while. And Bob, he seems to be the guy that just keeps sticking his neck out and keeps getting caught. Yeah. And like this, because they get arrested at this point for trying to save the day and stop Underminer. While Frozone is escaping, there's a man who stops him, and he says he works for a guy who might want to help supers and give them more rights and possibly legalize them again.
Yep, and that's how we get our plot, right?
Yeah, that's what gets everything rolling. We kind of move away from the ending of 1 into the beginning of 2.
Yeah.
Which is Bob's family now having to pretty much leave everything behind again.
Well, they had to relocate no matter what. I mean, their house literally just blew up. Yeah. And they make a reference to that. So we have, what's his name?
Rick Dicker.
Rick Dicker show up when they got arrested and everything. So he takes them and he relocates them. But he doesn't relocate them specifically to a place or a house. They're stuck in a motel. Yeah.
At the motel, apparently, like, the super community has, like, a place to go if your house is destroyed?
Yeah.
I guess.
And the funny thing is that they reference that their house was destroyed, so this is the only part that bugs me. That, like, where Bob is talking to Helen and he's like, look, I have to go do the job again. Like, I don't care. Do you know where my suit and ties are? And she's like, remember, they blew up with the rest of our house. And I was like, how did you guys manage to show up to a track meeting without anything? And just like, yeah, you know what? We don't have a house. It's fine. Let's go support Dash. It felt like it was a week, not a day.
Yeah, it felt like some time had passed between, like, your house blowing up and this going to a track meet and being all happy. Like, you don't have a place to live yet. You don't have anything going on.
Yeah. Where'd they get the clothes?
Where did they get maybe the government provided it for them.
Do you think Rick just, like, gave them some clothes or some allowance?
Maybe. I don't know. It's unexplained. It doesn't really need to be explained, though. All you need to know is, like... Or maybe the whole thing is, like... His suit and tie is, like, he never bought new suits. So, like, they just burned with the old house. And they were staying somewhere temporarily, but now they have to relocate again. I'm just making up stuff for the movie to make it more...
That makes more sense, though. Like, what if they were just staying, like...
Yeah, they were staying somewhere else, and Bob didn't want to buy a suit and tie because he's not working in the corporate world anymore. Yeah. And he's like, I only need my super suit, not this suit and tie. But now he needs to get a job so the family can actually live somewhere. Because the department that was relocating them and kind of covering up superhero activity is now defunded.
Yeah.
And it looks like supers are not really going to have any help in the world.
Nope.
At least not in the U.S.
Especially after Mr. Incredible is the one that keeps fucking shit up.
Yeah. It definitely seems like the police do not like supers.
Well, they don't like Mr. Incredible ruining things.
Yeah.
Because in one of the things the cops were saying was like, the bank was fully insured because of the damage somebody caused. But since superheroes are involved, they can't do much about it now.
Yeah, it just makes it harder for everything to go.
The paperwork. The paperwork is always like, that's what Bob never thinks about, is the paperwork.
It's funny because he worked for insurance, though.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is a world that's, like, adapted to supervillains. So they have procedures, like, the past 15 years, no superheroes have been around, but I'm sure supervillains have been around.
I bet.
So they have, like, a way of, like, okay, we have supervillain insurance, and we have, like, supervillain precautions, and we have a way of dealing with them, and if they get away, this happens. Underminer got away, but because superheroes were involved, it's a little bit harder to really work through the paperwork and actually solve the problem that is
they criminalize
the
more heroes than they do villains.
Yeah, kind of. It's weird.
Yeah.
I think supers in general are outlawed, whether you're hero or villain. It's just more severe if you're hero.
Yeah.
And if you're a good guy, then you do get like the benefits of being relocated, having people get their mind wiped and stuff, which Violet accidentally gets her potential boyfriend's mind wiped.
Yeah. Her identity was revealed out of anger. Like, she threw her mask off and Tony saw her and he was like, oh. And that's how we start off the movie, actually, right? Is with Rick talking to Tony and was like, can you tell me what you saw? And he's explaining, like, the situation where he saw her. And she's trying to explain. He's like, this is not what you think. But he runs away.
Yeah. She had this whole thing later on where she's like, I work for a theater group. And, I wanted to do Hamlet. But, they wanted to jazz it up for the kids, make it relevant for them. Yeah. And everyone loves superheroes. So, sometimes you don't get to pick the tights you wear.
And then Tony is like... Who are you?
And that's when she's like, ha ha. He's pretending he doesn't know who I am because I'm so weird. But turns out it was Rick Dicker who erased all the memories.
Yeah, Bob accidentally let that slip right there because he was just like, oh yeah, you have no idea how many times your mom and I have been caught by other people. And Rick had to mind wipe them. And that's when it triggers in her head. She's like, you mind wiped him?
You mind wiped me from his mind? I'm disavowing being a superhero. I'm gonna ruin my suit, which is completely bulletproof and indestructible. But I'm gonna throw it.
I'm gonna try my hardest.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna tear it apart. Not really.
The worst she could have done is dyed it a different color.
Yeah, it's just all black. Edgy.
Edna would totally flip.
Yeah, but we're also skipping over the big kind of the jumping off point for the movie, which is not jumping off point, the jumping on point for the movie, which is Bob, Helen, and Lucius being approached by this new kind of wealthy millionaire type, Winston Dever, who is a media mogul. He's in telecommunications, and he's a big fanboy of supers. Ever since he was a kid, he was...
But for a very good reason, though.
For a very good reason. His father was a philanthropist who invested heavily in supers. He thought, oh man, they're going to save the day no matter what. He had a phone line in his house set up to two different heroes.
One was Geyser Beam?
Yeah. Gazer Beam.
Gazer Beam.
And
oh my god.
the fire guy who died. I think he was one of them who died.
Yeah, I think he died.
Yeah. Because he had
Fire
a cape.
blast or something like that? No. I think he was killed by
I think Gazer Beam was definitely killed by Syndrome, but I think the other guy had a cape and died in the montage.
No, I actually think he died
on the island?
Yeah, by Syndrome.
Oh.
I think it was on his list.
It was probably on his list.
Yeah. And you know how I would say eliminated, or unknown, or anything like that?
Yeah.
It
probably. I'm probably misremembering.
We'll go back and check.
later. But, like I was saying, this guy, Winston, he's a big fanboy, and he wants to help Helen and Bob and Lucius kind of become legitimate again.
Uh-huh.
So he approaches the three and is like, we can be heroes again. And he has a sister who's kind of like the tech person, Evelyn Endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
Or Evelyn Dever, which I kept confusing as Endeavor.
I think they did say Endeavor at one point.
Probably, like, really fast, like, Evelyn Dever. Which reminded me of My Hero Academia a little bit. And I was like, what? We're not watching that. Right now, anyway. But his big plan is to kind of legitimize heroes in the eyes of the people. Because it's all about perspective and perception. And Bob kind of has a bad rap. Because he kind of caused a lot of collateral damage back in the day.
Yeah.
And Lucius, he might have caused some damage. But Helen, being Elastigirl and kind of being like this different kind of hero, she's more...
she works in the shadows.
Yeah, she's kind of like a ninja almost, a little bit. And she doesn't really have a power that could damage a lot of stuff. Like, Mr. Incredible's gonna wreck a truck and wreck, like, a city block. Frozone might freeze over a city block, but it'll melt, so less damage. Elastigirl's just gonna punch a dude in the face and, like, not cause any damage, really. Mm-hmm. So she was the best bet for them to, like, make a name for heroes again. And she does. I think they send her out to, like, a big city, like, different from their own city, right? Mm-hmm. And she stops a monorail from kind of going in the opposite direction. And it reminded me of Spider-Man 2 a little bit.
Did it?
Yeah, with the train, and Peter Parker has to, like, shoot all the webs and stop the train.
Is this the one where they reveal him? Where they're carrying him...
Oh, yeah, it's the subway.
Through the crowd? He was crowd surfing?
Yeah, he was crowd surfing, like, he's just a kid. And then the kids bring him his mask and is like, we won't tell anyone because we're New Yorkers and we stand together.
Okay.
He didn't say that whole thing.
Yeah,
but
I know.
It was like that. It was like...
That's little Marco, like, going, yay.
Yeah, it must be so cool to live in a big city like that. And everyone knows your name and is your friend. Except that's the exact opposite of reality.
Yeah.
But back to the movie. Like, Helen has a really great debut, like a reintroduction to the world.
Which makes it seem very fishy.
Yeah.
Like it's just like out of nowhere it starts.
Yeah, it's... The guy came off really fishy. Winston was, like, really suspicious to me. The way he snapped at his sister. Because the father dies because burglars enter the house. And, like, he's unaware at the moment that supers are illegal. So he calls up the two heroes. No one answers the phone. The robbers catch him on the phone and they shoot him on sight. And the mother dies later on, like a few months later. And Winston kind of thinks, like, if supers were around, they would have saved my dad. And I have to bring supers back because they're great and everything.
And then I think Ellen is the villain. Evelyn.
Yeah, she's...
Evelyn.
She was...
Because she, like, immediately, when Winston was like... If heroes were there, they would have saved my father. And Evelyn was like, there was a safe room. Mom insisted. Yeah. And, like, when I was like, oh, you don't like superheroes. Because your father could have done smarter choices, but he relied on heroes way too much. And I liked that.
I like it too, because it's like, the first movie had a fanboy who was, like, disgruntled and hated the fandom now, so he decided to destroy the fandom, which was destroy all the heroes. And in this movie, I was like, okay, there's another fanboy. He seems oddly suspicious. His sister is also suspicious, but she's way too suspicious. Like, there's just too much leaning towards her being the bad guy that I thought it was going to be a reveal that, like, oh, she was just doing the right thing, and the brother was doing this for bad intentions. and he had bad motivations behind it. But it turns out the brother was like straight up good guy. Like he was a straight up goody two shoes, and he had good intentions. The sister, on the other hand, used all this to her advantage, kind of to make the world think that supers are full on evil, good or bad. Like superhero or not, they're all trying to kill us all because they're superior human beings.
I found it interesting that her villain name was Screensaver?
Slaver. Screenslaver.
Really?
Yeah, in a time period where I don't even think they have screensavers. Because this is like the 1950s, 70s.
Okay, so it was Screenslaver.
Yeah.
It sounded, it's so interesting. Because, okay, so I realized this, and I told Marco, like, once I found out, at the end of the movie, I was like, you know what I like about this movie so much? There is not a single phone. Like a screen touch phone. A smartphone. And that makes me so happy. Because I think phones are evil. And they managed not to do a single thing like that. And I thought that was super cool. But they used technology still.
Yeah.
And it was super advanced and it was super cool. Without cell phones.
But also, this is from Brad Bird, the guy who really loves the 1950s, and he sets most of his movies in a world where the 1950s is still a thing. Like, because Incredibles 1, they reference, like, a few superhero deaths that took place in the 50s. And, like, some time has passed, but it still has that weird, shiny kind of, like, style to it. 1950s style to it. Like, in a few moments in this, like, she's referencing, or Screenslaver, who is, spoiler alert, Evelyn, is referencing talk shows and game shows, and those became really popular in like the 60s. So she's pretty much just saying that technology is ruining us in a period which is 50 years before today. Like she's already saying like technology is controlling us and making slaves out of all of us.
More wasn't her lines like, you're not playing sports, you're watching sports. You're not playing games, you're watching games.
Yeah. I think it was like, you're not talking to each other, you're watching talk shows. You're not playing games, you're watching game shows.
Yeah.
And it was this whole thing of like, she's monologuing or kind of making this other guy monologue. I don't know if that's actually how she feels.
But I feel like it is.
Maybe.
Or maybe she was just doing it as a... Because...
To go with the gimmick.
Yeah, like she was trying to build Elastigirl up.
Yeah.
That was the whole point, was building Elastigirl up for Winston.
Yeah. But then to bring her down at the end.
Yeah. Because I feel like that's her where she gets her joy. Yeah. Is seeing somebody really high up and then putting them down.
But that was part of the plan, really. Because you can't really end all supers without building them back up. Just to make them fall even further. Yeah,
because it got to the point where Winston has literally established a relationship with so many countries where all of them were going to show up with their heroes from their countries to sign a paper saying superheroes are no longer illegal.
Yes. And that became like a really big thing, like, because they saved an ambassador earlier on, and she kind of talked to all the world leaders. And that started this whole thing where you had international heroes showing up.
Yeah.
Like Void, Brick.
No, Void was already... No, they were from different places.
Yeah.
He said different places, but he didn't say different countries.
Yeah. We see other ones from different countries, but they don't really get names. There's like a Masi Menos looking team, like one with a positive, one with a negative sign.
I didn't see that one. I saw the one that had the bumblebee colors, but wasn't...
Oh, yeah. There's another one with, like, a brain that had, like, a lightning bolt coming out of it. So, like, Brainstorm, probably. And there's just, like, weird stereotypes of characters. Like, there's one with, like, a Russian hat. Yeah. Things like that.
But, we didn't talk about those, like, new heroes that got involved, right? They're young heroes in a way.
Yeah, who looked up to Elastigirl and Mr. Incredible when they were kids.
Like, Void I like her, because she's, like... a fangirl. She was like, oh my god, I've always wanted to meet you. Oh my god, gotta get myself together. And then gives her a hug and was like, I just was like, it's yay me, it's a pleasure to meet you finally, kind of thing.
Yeah. And then you have some other heroes that are like not really the focus. Because there's a guy who has electricity powers. Yeah. There's Reflux, who's got acid reflux disease. Yeah.
And he makes a joke about it, which I thought was hilarious. He's like, it's either, what did he say? A birth defect or something like that?
It's either a gift or just a medical condition.
A medical condition, yeah. He's like, I normally open that line up to make people feel not so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's clever. That's very clever.
Mm-hmm. He had other ones like Crusher, who kind of like just crushes stuff with his mind.
Brick
from Wisconsin.
There is some other characters. The guy with the electricity.
Yeah, he it was so weird. Like, I saw him in a bunch of trailers, but then like in this movie he gets like very few lines, and I couldn't even remember his name. Yeah. Like, he says it once and then someone's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then there was so it was Crusher, Owl Dude, I forget his name.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be something clever, but it was just like something that I was like, oh, that's weird. Oh well.
His name.
Moving on.
I'm gonna call him Hoot.
Yeah, what a hoot that guy was.
Yeah. So far they like put a lot more emphasis on Void, and I understand why. Like, her power was incredible.
Yeah. Out of all the new heroes, she has like the most interesting power.
And like they made that for a reason. Like, that's why she wasn't in the trailers.
She was in a few trailers actually, but mostly like the ones that came after.
You know what? I avoid all trailers.
Yeah,
because I know I wanted to watch this movie.
Yeah.
And if I know that I'm going to really like this movie, I'm going to avoid all the trailers I can.
Yeah, but Helen is making a huge splash.
Yeah.
Like, only saving the day about 2 or 3 times before, like, the world's finally like, bring back the supers.
Yeah.
Like, she supposedly catches Screenslaver at one point, but it's just a...
Pizza delivery guy?
It's a pizza delivery guy who's been hypnotized from within the mask.
But he still gets arrested, like, framed for the incident. He's
like, what did you guys do to me? And he's like, oh, that's right. Blame the system, why don't you? And I was like, that's such a like funny yet sad thing to say. Yeah. It's like, because reality. But anyway, this movie got really real sometimes. Yeah,
there was a lot of interesting conversations, like both because there's a lot in this movie, so it would like jump from Elastigirl to being back at home, and then we'd jump back to just Violet by herself and her interactions with Tony. So there was a lot going on.
Yeah, but there was also like some stuff that you don't really see in kids' movies. Like, Helen at one point shoots a gun, and I was like, oh, that's weird for a Disney movie, right? They're drinking alcohol.
Oh, yeah, there was drinking.
And I was like, oh, wow. Brad Bird really gets to do whatever he wants.
Yeah. There was a lot of...
There's a person who shot out of a plane in this movie. Like, straight up shot with a flare gun out of a window. And I was like, oh, damn. Brad Bird can do no wrong. Like, they just let him do whatever.
But it was
yeah, it was a flare gun.
It's a flare gun.
But it was still shot at her air tank.
Yeah. Actually... She did shoot a real gun.
Was it a real gun?
Not with the flare gun.
Oh, yeah, she shot a real gun earlier.
To save the ambassador again, right?
Yeah. And that was the moment I was like, oh, wow. Disney's just going to let them do this.
Yeah, that was... Wow.
It's weird because it's like you see guns in every other movie, but like when it's an animated Disney movie, it's like, oh my gosh, a gun?
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh wait, I handle guns all the time. So it's like, why am I shocked by a gun on screen?
Yeah. There was also a conversation between Evelyn and Helen.
Yeah, they were getting a little real there too. A
little bit
tipsy too.
They were talking about, like, it was really like mind-boggling the idea that they were talking about, which was between a seller and a creator.
Seller and a buyer.
A seller and a buyer?
Also an inventor. It was
an inventor.
An inventor, a buyer, and a seller. And it was kind of this thing.
So inventor is the same thing as creator.
Yeah. But they were talking about who's more important to the company, whether it was Evelyn or her brother Winston.
Yeah, and Evelyn went with herself, of course.
Yeah.
But Helen, because the whole conversation started with Evelyn telling Helen that she was overshadowed by Mr. Incredible. And Helen was like, no, you got that all wrong.
You're calling the kettle black here.
Yeah, like, I did my part and I inspired a certain section. That does not mean I was overshadowed, because there was a certain section that I was not even completely focusing on.
Yeah.
She's like, I know how to handle my situation and myself, but Evelyn kept pushing buttons, but Helen never got upset and would always find a way to, like, tell Evelyn, you have a wrong mindset. Like, you're not thinking about the correct way to, like, see this. And they started talking about, like, who's better for companies or stuff like that, right? The inventor or the seller. And then, of course, Evelyn was with the inventor, because she creates things. Like, there wouldn't be any company if there wasn't anybody creating things. But Helen went with the subject of, like, but you understand that to get your stuff out there, there has to be a seller who talks to people. And that's when my mind was like, I'm connecting dots here.
Yeah. Well, I already connected all the dots earlier, but I was like, this is just... Because it's
an interesting conversation.
Yeah. It was things like leading to, like, is there going to be a flip? Like, is it going to be a reveal flip where it's like someone is secretly not the villain anymore? Yeah. Or, like, is Evelyn secretly going to reveal that her brother is planning things and we don't know about it?
No, for me, it was like, I already knew something was going on with Evelyn. And then, like, with her having that pushy conversation with Helen without, like, trying to kind of get a reaction out of her was like, I know there's something here. You're hiding the fact that you are clever, more clever than what you think, or than what people think.
Yeah. That
you're more than just an inventor.
You're secretly a planner.
You have a story.
And a seller.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting how, well, we'll get back to Bob in a second, but, like, I thought Helen in the movie really reflected, like, herself in the previous movie during those flashbacks when they're interviewing her, and she was like, leave all this work to the men? I don't think so. And this one, she really, like, doubled down on that by becoming the breadwinner for the family, kind of, in a way.
They got to live in a nice house.
Yeah, they got to live in a billionaire's mansion. And I think that's kind of a reference to Batman. Because they're like, it used to belong to a billionaire who needed to escape every once in a while. And that's why there's so many different secret exits.
I thought they were going to try and play a joke about that. Like, how all this, like, since they're all superheroes, right? They're going to try and leave in different sections or different ways.
Yeah, or someone would try to sneak out of the house.
Yeah.
But it didn't really go that way.
Maybe there's some scenes where they all get caught somehow.
Yeah. Or, like, Dash tries to sneak out. But that was a different thing.
Oh my god, I want to talk about a thing.
Yes.
Before we go any further. This is, like, really at the beginning of them getting their house, right? This lended out house. So basically renting this house, right? From Winston. So when Helen gets her first mission, right? They put on the costume, and then they're all like, oh yeah, you also have this, and it's a motorcycle. And she's like, oh, it's the Elastigirl cycle thingy. I don't know what she called it.
You mean Elasticycle?
Elasticycle, yeah.
You're like Jess from New Girl. Batman-mobile.
Batman-mobile.
No, Batmobile. Batman-mobile.
Batmobile.
Batman-mobile.
Batman-mobile.
Yeah. But it's Elasticycle.
Elasticycle. And when she's, like, talking about that, Bob's like, you had a motorcycle? And she's like, there's a lot of things you didn't know about me. I used to have a mohawk. I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. I will forever picture Helen in a fucking mohawk.
Yeah. And then she's like, you weren't missing much. It's like, there was years when, like, Bob and Helen didn't know each other. And they had, like, years of superheroing that I kind of want to see.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to see what, like, Helen was like, like, the golden and silver age for these characters.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure, like, the silver age was, like, the very beginning of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the golden age when they're, like, just starting out.
Uh-huh.
That would be fun to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, going back to Bob, because he has a lot going on in the movie. Mm-hmm. He has probably the most development, I would say. Because Helen kind of, like, goes through this whole getting out of the house kind of thing.
She's going through what Bob went through in the first movie.
Yeah, kind of. Because she's, like, going from house mom to being, like, breadwinner to being, like, a cultural icon again.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, Bob's going from, like, his whole island adventure that everyone had and like busting up syndrome to now being a house dad, a stay-at-home dad, and kind of discovering that being a parent is way more tasking than just being like an insurance agent or being like a superhero. And I think Bob learned a very important lesson.
Oh yeah, he did.
That being a father is just as heroic as being a hero.
Oh my god.
Yes, and I think
that was like favorite line from Edna.
Yeah, because there's moments that he fails pretty badly. His first day of like being alone with the kids, Jack like escapes with his powers. Dash doesn't do his homework. Violet, her date with Tony,
never happened.
And the kids are like in crisis. He's in crisis, and in the middle of the night, he's talking to himself, and he looks at the clock, and he's like, "All right, I gotta flip this around." Yeah. He wakes up Dash, helps him with his homework. He kind of works with him, and gets everyone kind of in an okay position. And then like the next day, Dash is like, "All right, we're doing percentages and decimals at school now." And he's like, "But we just got caught up with school." Yeah, but like we're learning new stuff now. And like Violet's going through more stuff, and then Jack has developed more powers.
Yeah.
So it's like he learns throughout the movie that parenting is a continuous battle. Like being a superhero is a continuous battle against evil. Like being a parent raising kids, it's never gonna end. Like in the short movie, before The Incredibles, Bao with the little dumpling, the dumpling baby. I was like, this is an interesting this is an interesting parallel, like parenting and raising the kids. One is a dumpling, the other one is also shaped like a dumpling, but is a weird baby with polymorph powers. Yeah. Do you want to talk about Jack?
Oh my god. Like, where do I start? He has a lot of powers.
He does. Do you want to go through a quick list of them? Just off the top of your head?
Okay, so I remember he has laser beams, right? He can catch on fire. He's a monster baby. Yeah. He multiplies.
Yes. He multiplies a lot in this movie.
Yeah, and then he can pass through different dimensions.
Yes.
Right?
He's like a dimensional shifter. He can phase through walls. He can turn into goo. He can grow. He can also like control things with his mind, like telekinesis. And or maybe it's just metal, because both things that he picks up are metal. Yeah. Maybe he's got magnetism.
Maybe. There was something else that I was gonna say.
Do you like how he associated the raccoon with a burglar?
Oh yeah, that was cool. I thought that was funny.
It was adorable.
Yeah, because he saw masks and he was like, huh? And he started attacking the raccoon.
You're stealing all our food. I see you. I never imagined seeing a baby fighting a raccoon and not really being worried for the baby. Like, I was worried for a second, and then like I was like, oh, he's got superpowers. Yeah. So like, no matter what the raccoon does, he can't beat him.
That was like the best scene ever. Oh yeah, the other thing I figured out that he's a shapeshifter.
Yes, he can. He turns into Edna mode at one point.
Like facial features, he wouldn't just like completely turn into the person. He like start off with the nose, and then the eyes, and then the hair. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? What's wrong with this baby?
And throughout the movie, he's actually imitating a lot of the adults. Yeah. Like, Edna, he, like, when he spends time with her and, like, gets dropped off to be babysat by her, the next day, he has a lollipop and he uses it like her.
He's walking like her, talking like her. Not talking like her, like, moving.
Yeah, he's doing the gestures and everything. Yeah. And earlier, he was also kind of imitating Violet when she was having a tantrum. Yeah. And he was imitating what's his name, Winston, at the very end. How he was like doing finger guns and stuff. Jack was doing that too. And I was like, wow, it's subtle things like that really made the character of Jack make more sense. Because his powers, at one point Edna says like lots of supers when they're young exhibit many powers, but then like eventually they'll go back to one. But Jack has like all these abilities and is like constantly in flux. But I think that's kind of like,
what if he's like Legion?
He could be David Haller in a way. I would like that, actually.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah. I could imagine 3 being like Jack with all these powers.
Yeah.
If they do a time skip like Toy Story 3.
But this is definitely Edna's favorite.
Yeah.
Like, she is like, because Bob had dropped him off for her. He's like, I can't handle this baby. Can you help me? Can you babysit him for a while? And she's like, why do I have to babysit? And then she like saw him like flying and like copying her, and she's like, okay, bye Bob, okay, you can have him, I'll babysit him, you won me over, okay, goodbye. And he's like, Auntie Edna? And then he leaves and then picks him up the next day, and she starts explaining to him all that he's a polymorph and everything. And when he's leaving with Jack, he's like, how can I ever repay you? Like, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. She's like, you'll figure out how to cover it. And she's like, I'm just kidding. She's like, you being Mr. Incredible pays the bill for me. But you, Elastic Girl, and Frozone have to be mine forever and ever. Like, I will be your designer
in all known realities.
Yeah, like forever. I don't want anybody else doing your costume, because she found out that Elastic Girl's costume was made by somebody else.
Yeah, and that was she made us think about that. But I think at first she was kind of into Jack's powers for the experimenting, and like kind of like just, it was inspiration for her to keep working on super costumes. And super suits, but it was like later on she kind of grew attached to Jack. Is like, this kid's all right, this kid's great.
And her comment at the end, like when he's leaving, she's like, but this little cutie, I'll take care of him for free.
Yeah, which is great, because I mean, you kind of need more suits for that kid.
Yeah, like she created a suit for him, like a onesie.
Yeah,
right. So whenever he catches on fire, she created a tablet for the suit, so it can show you exactly what his next power is going to be.
So there was a screen, there was a tablet, the thing that you hate.
A tablet for one thing.
Yeah.
Which was controlling somebody's power. So before Jack can even transform into the other power, it would display on the screen like imminent fire or something like that.
Yeah. It would be like combustion imminent. But it was like always a warning to detect what power was going to be activated next, like multiplying and
warp.
Yeah, and then the freaking the demon baby thing.
Oh yeah. And so my favorite one was when he catches on fire. You can press a button on the tablet, and his suit turns into a puffy thing, and it's like fire resistant thing.
It's flame retardant, but it's
cream?
also. It's
cream.
It's cream. It's edible cream.
She's like, it's edible. It's what was it? Blackberry?
I think it's blackberry.
Yeah, blackberry cream. It's edible. Blah blah blah. It's all safe. And you can see Jack laughing and eating it at the same time, which I thought was so funny. That's like the great things that we found out about Jack.
You know what? For 3, I really want, like, teenage Jack.
If
like,
we get a 3.
If we get a 3. But I think in this current, like, Pixar era, sequels is the way to go for them.
I mean, depends if this movie does really well for young kids who don't know anything about the first one.
Yeah. But we did stumble across a few people or kids who, like, did know about Incredibles.
Oh, yeah. That was cute.
Yeah. There were a bunch of kids talking, like,
Are you gonna go watch Incredibles 2?
Yeah, and then they were like quoting the movie, and we were like, "Well, what's going on with these young kids knowing about the Incredibles?" And then we realized, oh, it's a kids movie. That's right. It's not this weird thing that like us and other people are into. It's like an actual Pixar movie.
Yeah.
But all Pixar movies are like for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. Andrea, out of 10, what would you rate Incredibles 2 or The Incredibles 2?
Do I always rate movies too high or too low? I don't know.
It's been a while. I think you rate them the appropriate number.
I want to give it an 8.9.
8.9? Is it for nostalgia? Is it for anything else?
Then a 9, I guess.
9?
Maybe.
9 for nostalgia? 8.9?
Well, it's 5 for nostalgia and 4 for a very good story.
Oh, okay.
But it was all over the place. Like, there were so many good jokes that I want to talk about, but I can't even remember a single thing because immediately once the joke was told, we'd skip to another scene and it was like a different, like, either serious or funny. But there was a lot of good things going on in there.
Yeah. It kind of felt like 2 or 3 movies happening all at once.
Yeah.
And we were like just... I know that's how stories work in movies. Like, you have to have different storylines going on, and they all kind of converge at the end. But, like, this felt like too different, like, way too different and, like, adrift from each other.
Like, this could have been a whole season.
Yeah.
If they made the Incredibles into a TV show.
Yeah. Like, a whole Netflix chunk of episodes. But they kind of, like, condensed it, made it tight, made it work really well.
Removed all the fillers.
Removed all the filler that would be completely unnecessary. And
left us with all the good stuff.
Yeah, they left us with the best parts, and
yeah.
I'd say a decent villain, at least a villain that kind of had everyone in threat mode.
I liked her as a villain.
Yeah, I especially like the ice thing, where she's like, "Don't stretch or you'll break."
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit."
She like knows. She knew Elastic Girl though, like every part of her.
In a way, yeah.
That's how she knew about the motorcycle and everything.
Her brother's the fanboy.
Yeah.
So she would, you know how fanboy knowledge kind of rubs off on your relatives?
I guess so.
Yeah. Like, if I talk about stuff, then my relatives are going to be like, "Oh, did you hear about Darth Maul being in Solo?"
I don't have to be related to you, and I already know a lot of your...
We live together, and I'll be like, "Did you hear about what happened in Mr. Miracle?"
You told me yesterday.
Yeah, I did. But I say Incredibles 2 is definitely worth a watch.
Uh-huh.
You could honestly skip it if you are like low on funds or like you only go to the movie theater so often.
Mm-hmm.
We saw an IMAX, which was kind of good, but it was like optimized for IMAX instead of like made specifically for it. So it wasn't like you had anything special like Infinity War, where like you could see more of the movie. Like, what is it, like 20% more of the movie or something like that?
I don't
through
know.
IMAX. I don't know. IMAX, some movies are like, you get more of the experience if you watch it in IMAX. This was like, oh, you just saw it on a bigger screen. That was cool. But if you're like a family with rowdy kids, maybe wait until it hits Redbox.
If you want.
If you want, you could take them. It's a kids movie. There's gonna be a lot of other loud kids.
Yeah. Which I was surprised that our theater was actually quite empty.
Yeah. Well, we did go to the first showing at like 5 p.m.
On a Thursday.
Everybody
and their mothers are going to be there Friday night.
Yeah, I think everyone's thinking like, oh yeah, I'll definitely go this weekend. If we had kids together,
we'd definitely be watching that movie every weekend.
Yeah, especially with Movie Pass. Not sponsored, by the way, but Movie Pass is great. Yeah. Actually, that'd be a great way to take kids. Just be like, I'll use my Movie Pass and get this child in for a child ticket price.
Uh-huh.
Ah, man, I would go see Paddington 2 so many times. That's besides the point, though.
I can't imagine you going to go see Teen Titans Go as well.
Yeah, we would take the kids to Teen Titans Go every week for a month.
We don't have kids, and we're probably still going to go watch it.
Every week for a month. No. Just once. But anyway, thanks for listening to our giant spoiler talk podcast about Incredibles 2. Next week, we'll probably do something different. Maybe talk about comics. Maybe something else. But from all of us at Nerd Boys Comic Blog, arrivederci.
Goodbye.